Okay, welcome back, guys. We are in week 12. So we're down to the last 2 weeks and we're back in spring today. So Linda,
Woohoo!
let's start with you. And first of all, tell me how everything's going.
Good. Everything's going good. Happy to be back in spring. I feel a little bit more in control than with the more leniency of other foods. So I like that. Water is good. Alkagizer, good. Breathing, good. So I'm happy to be back.
Cool, 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 cool. So what did you do with the buffer zone?
Finished up sweet potato. Well, actually, half the sweet potato. I just threw the other one away. And then yesterday, I started getting totally prepared for today. So I did fairly well for the buffer zone as far as the food goes for spring.
Good, 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 good. So your only summer veg was the sweet potato?
Yes.
And
Oh,
the
I
best-
had some strawberries to
Okay,
finish the strawberries. Yeah, that was it. That's
cool,
it. Yeah.
cool, cool, cool. All righty. One of the things that I want to mention is that as we transition into living wild fit, it gets easier and easier to make that transition in and out of spring. And it's really important to get comfortable being in every season and doing it deliberately. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Now, I don't know what it's like to be in any other season except for summer and spring. No, late fall. I think it was late fall
No,
and
you have
spring.
you haven't been in late fall yet.
What did we start with? Was it late summer? Maybe it was
We started with late summer, early
late
fall.
summer and early fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what it's like to be in winter, or the purpose of winter. Would that be just be for if you need to gain a few pounds? Would that be the purpose of winter?
Nope, that's fall. So winter in the wild fit parlance is primarily geared toward fasting,
Oh, no,
which is
thank you.
completely optional. It's not something you have to do.
I could
But
probably fast for a few hours. Other than that, I'm no good.
well, I don't know. Have you ever done intermittent fasting?
I have the best way for me to fast with the least amount of symptoms of hyperglycemia would be stop eating at 5 o'clock in the evening, do all my sleeping,
Mm-hmm.
and then get, at least get 12 to 15, 16 hours in of not eating. If I can make it through the morning, the first 2 hours in the morning, then that would be good for me.
I would say that your experience now may be different than it was previously because of the changes that you've made and what you've been eating. So you're nutritionally more complete, which means that you are less likely to have a hypoglycemic reaction. I'm not
Okay.
advocating I'm not advocating that you need to fast. I'm just saying that, if you choose to do it, your experience may be different.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind for sure. Thanks.
And yeah, you're welcome. And one of the things that Eric has talked about is doing like a 3-day fast, which I haven't tried yet. I'm a little afraid of that, quite honestly.
I am too. And I I just remember fasting before colonoscopy. Pure hell. I was miserable. How would I ever
Yeah.
fast for that for 3 days? It's like, oh my gosh. I remember so sick that I went down to the health food store and I got clear protein water, right? Grape flavored. It was clear. As long as it wasn't red, I got away with it. And I
Mm-hmm.
would just buy a shitload of those and get my 40 grams per bottle of protein just so I could make it through that.
Yeah. I think your experience would be different now. I really do.
Oh,
Um,
maybe I'll give it a try. Maybe start like a half a day or something. Just
well,
kind of.
and there's so really, I mean, the intermittent fasting thing, have your last meal and then just see how long you're willing to wait before you decide to eat the next day.
Okay.
And a lot of times I go from like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening until I used to go 11 or 12 o'clock, no problem at all.
Okay.
I haven't
Okay.
done
So
it
that's a
lately.
nice, but that's
Mhm.
a good period of time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's enough to make the difference. But again, it's not absolutely necessary. It's just an option. One of the other options is you can do, and even when you're fasting, you're still consuming plenty of water, just FYI.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the other way to do it is to do an Alkagizer only fast.
I could do that.
Yeah.
I think I
So
could do that too. Yeah.
now
Yeah.
that's Alkagizer Prime, no fruit,
Right.
because all you want to be getting is primarily the vegetables. And
That's all I drink is the Prime. I never add
Yeah.
fruit to it anymore. Yeah.
and actually that is something that I want to try just to see how that works out. So
hmm
could be kind of interesting. Cool. Well, it sounds like you're right on track.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you been on the scale since the weekend or no?
No, I get too much and it gets into my head.
That's fine.
So I'm okay. I'm just not going to do it and just keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, my experiences in the restroom have been better, so that's a good indicator right there. Making adjustments to all the different greens I never had before. Now that I'm having,
Cool.
So yeah.
Nice. All righty. Anything else for you?
No, super good. Now, starting next week, that's our last week, right? And so are we every day?
Yep. Every day next
Okay.
week.
Okay, good. Good enough.
And we'll have a lot of stuff to go through. So
Okay.
part of what I want all you guys, I'm kind of doing this out of order because I know you're going to jump off the call and I want you to hear this part before you go. Part of what I want everybody doing this week is to start thinking about which are the foods that you're pretty sure you want to put back in, which are the foods that you probably no longer really want to have in your life at all, and which ones might be occasional. And of course, a big part of what we've accomplished in this period is really becoming conscious about the decisions we're making about what to eat and when to eat it and how we feel afterwards. And that level of consciousness is what really can make the difference in a lifelong permanent change, right? Don't let the conscious eating slip. Don't go back to mindless eating. Make sense?
Yeah, that's something I'm going to need a constant reminder of mindless eating. I forget sometimes, like, oh, I'm stuffing my face again. But I could tell you this, I have such an addiction to sugar, and I think that is my weakest link. If I have one taste of it, I want more automatically, and that's a struggle for me to say no more. So that's something I'm going to definitely try to avoid. I might have it occasionally if I'm not in control of how much I can have. Like if I'm at a restaurant, you only get one serving, right? But if I have free-for-all gingerbread cookies, if I have one taste, it's going to be all the cookies. So I have to really, and I'll feel like shit afterwards, but it'll taste so good while I'm doing it, right? And so it's kind of a struggle and it's a mind game. But Linda, it's so good. You're not going to get it again till next year. That monster talking to me, and I'll sink. I can sink into that easily. So I have to be really careful.
And that's FOMO, right? Oh, you're not going to get any more until next year.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's just the encouragement, right? Of go ahead, giving myself permission. So I've given myself way too much permission. It's time to knock that shit off.
So how is your sugar monster now?
It's been kind of bothering me a little bit because eggnog season, gingerbread season's coming. And I feel like if I have it in the house, I could slip. However, I'm making a decision not to giving myself that first taste unless I'm in an environment where I can't have seconds.
Okay.
Right. So that would be an occasional sweet here and there. We went out to dinner on Friday and we went to a restaurant that has like the best ever sourdough bread. And I used to oh, this is so good. I don't need butter. I don't need anything on it. Just the sourdough. And I had that aroma and it smelled so good. So I just asked them to move it to the other side of the table and keep it covered. And I was good. Totally fine. Forgot it was even there.
Cool.
Yeah. So because I know.
Progress.
Yes, and I know I will get a stomach ache from that. I always do. Always feel like really feel like shit after that.
So here's an interesting thing for you, and I think I've told you this before. I have a Wild Fit ginger snap molasses cookie that is really good. And even if you ate the entire batch, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for you.
Well, good. I hope if you can give me that recipe, that would be amazing. Thank you.
I'll try and get it done next week, because you're still not gonna be in the position to do anything like that until you're through the 90 days.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
But I'll try and get that video done next week, because I've got it in the can. I just haven't edited it yet. So,
Okay. Thanks, Sally. Thank you.
cool. All righty. Thanks for being here. Stan, let's move on to you.
I'm going to go ahead and
Nothing.
jump off.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Bye,
guys.
Linda.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Nothing really earth-shattering to report. For the buffer zone, I had some strawberries earlier in the week and didn't. When they were gone, I really didn't have any more. I had leftover soup on Friday night that had carrots in it, and yesterday had to use up. It was either yesterday or Saturday. I can't remember. I had to use up some chicken and some broth, so I made more soup with carrots. But just 2 servings, and so that was done yesterday. So, I mean, the difference between spring and summer does not seem that great to me. So it wasn't really hard to get back into spring. I've kind of been trying to. Well, I actually had a question. In the video today, Eric said, and he said something like this before, but he wants us to have 2 to 3 alkalizers a day. How big does he mean those to be when he's talking 2 to 3?
So if you go back to the beginning, it's a little bit ambiguous. It's a little bit like glasses of water. Bigger people have bigger quantities, smaller people have smaller quantities. So I was typically running through a quart at a time during this phase. You know, so I'd fill up a mason jar, because I make a whole pitcher and that makes 2 mason jars. So I'd do a mason jar a day. I think anything over 16 ounces is probably fine. Anything under, especially for bigger people, is probably not optimum.
Okay,
So
because I'm doing between 3 and 4 cups a day. So
yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. I had actually one interesting thing. Yesterday, I was out on my bike and passed by Conan's Bakery, and for Dana, they are like iconic with their eclairs in Tehachapi. And right before we gave up sugar, coming into the buffer zone for that, I had my first and only Conan's eclair, and it was quite good. Sometimes those things, you know, they're not as good as you expect them to be, but that really was. What was different was yesterday, as I'm passing by and remembering that experience, I'm thinking, yeah, it was good, but I don't really feel even tempted to have another one now.
Woohoo!
So I mean, I think the Sugar Monster is generally weak. I feel the same thing about cakes and cookies, and you know, when I go into Save Mart, I have to walk through the aisle that has all that stuff because they've got it all right there in front, and I'm not even tempted anymore. One thing that helps a lot with the commercial stuff is usually it really does not taste as good as I think it will. And I've kind of learned that. Or in the case of I think it's the house brand of Save Mart ice cream, which I kind of chowed down on a bunch before WildFit. It really did taste as good as I thought it would, but it made me feel awful afterwards. And I haven't forgotten that, so I'm not tempted to have that either. The one thing I am really looking forward to is, of course, chocolate-covered caramels with sea salt. And I will have to experiment carefully with those.
Really pay attention to both how you feel while you're eating them and afterwards. And I mean, I'll go back to my grilled cheese experiment at Veritas and say, when I ate it, I was thinking, oh yeah, I might do this like once a month or so. I haven't done it since. Because just knowing how it makes me feel afterwards is enough to keep me from wanting to do it during.
Well, I mean, it's obviously 2 weeks away, but
Yeah.
I will pay attention to that. And the same thing with wine. I'm gonna, when I experiment with that, that'll be, again, a lot of paying attention. I think with both of them, my real peril is going to be portion control. If my experiment is going to be with 1 glass of wine, then I really need to make it 1 glass of wine. Or if it's going to be 2, then I really need to make it 2. And clearly, I mean, 2 is maybe ambiguous. More than 2, not so much.
Mhm.
But again, it's 2 weeks away, so I'm not worrying about it now. I was just kind of struck by really how not as hard as I thought it would be. It's been to give up almost all sugar.
Yeah. And the thing that I'm noticing is what you said just a few minutes ago about not even being tempted by the thought of things like passing the bakery and thinking, oh, an eclair would be nice.
Right.
That's, I mean, from conversations that we have had previously, that's big.
Yeah.
It really is. So congratulations. Well done. Well done.
Thanks.
That's super exciting.
So I'll be keenly interested to see how the transition to Living Wild Fit goes, because I think I'm thinking that may be a challenge for me, but I'm not really worrying about it because that's next week. That's not this week.
Well, and I would suggest that you consider staying part of the group. So we'll change Facebook groups into what will ultimately become the whole community when we have more than one group of people going through the Wild Fit Challenge. But for the first 90 days or so, it's just going to be us. But I think that having that support and being able to check in for everybody helps to keep people on track, and just getting a little bit of that cheerleading really does make a difference. So
Okay.
something to think about. Cool. Anything else for you?
All righty. I think that's it for me.
Nice, nice. Dana, you're up.
I'm up. I didn't switch over the weekend because I had stuff to eat up. But I'm still doing the Alkagizer, and I'm gonna have to go to the store though. I'm out of stuff.
But you're not free to move about the country yet, right?
No. I
Can you
might
get
just
somebody
come
else
down
to
with a
for you?
list, but I'm not sure that I want to do that because there's no figure out what I like.
Gotcha, gotcha. Cool. Water and breathing good?
Water and breathing are good.
Cool.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to mashed potatoes on Thanksgiving because I'm gonna have those.
So one of the things that I really want to make sure that we talk about in terms of fat release is the fact that most of our fat release apparently comes through breathing. And because of that, especially if you feel like you're not getting weight release that you're looking for, amp up the breathing exercises. Because in addition to helping to keep you calm down and serene and all of those things, it also helps with the fat burning itself. So, and on 2 different levels. One of them is that the less stressed we are, the easier it is to release fat, going back to being chased by saber-toothed tigers. And the other being that it actually just physically helps in the respiration. Helps the fat release in the respiration. I used to be able to talk intelligently, apparently not today. So keep that in mind, and the more times you can take a break during the day to do the breathing, the better I think you're going to find it. So this week is really all about being back in spring. Nothing that's too unusual or outrageous in terms of what you're going to be doing. But I really want you paying attention to that dialogue and noticing if the food angel and the food devil are starting to agree with each other more and more. And it sounds like for everybody, that's really beginning to happen. So one of the things that Eric said at some point, can't remember if it was this video or some other time, is that until you really get your eating congruent, as we've been doing, about the only time the food angel and the food devil agree about what to eat is when you're sick and nobody wants to eat anything.
Mhm.
So kind of an interesting way to look at it a little bit differently. So
Alan did like this too, though, so
good.
that was good.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe, getting him started on some different things could be good for him too.
It won't hurt him.
No matter what he thinks.
No matter what he thinks.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm feeling pretty complete. Anything else for you guys today? Questions, comments, concerns? Everybody's good? Awesome.
I'm good.
Then we're going to call it a fast day. I will see you back on Friday. Don't forget to post up in the Facebook group if you got any questions or comments or concerns. And I'll see you Friday. Keep up the good work, guys.
All right. See you next week.
Bye, Dana. Bye, Sally.
Bye-bye.